I have a couple interesting thoughts I'd like to share. Look at all these notes I've written down. See, I've been focused on the. Do that one another day. I've been focused on the translation videos, because those seem to be popular. And, so I've been trying to appease that, but I've been running behind on some of my ideas I have for other videos to do. But I think today I have a little bit of time, so just a couple thoughts I wanted to share. At work the other day, I think that was Monday. No, it might have been. I think it might have been Sunday. I was talking to my coworker. He's very hurt, very down about current events with these riots and everything going on. People are so divided and so broken, and so many things happening in the world right now. I told you 2020 was going to be a nut house. Here we are. This is nuts. But anyway, he says to me, I was listening to this profession. I think it was an athlete. Some athlete was speaking out and saying, these riots are not about violence or race or maybe it was violence, but not race, not economics, it's not culture, it's not food, it's not this, it's not that. You want to know what these riots are about? You want to know what's going on? This is a spiritual war. He's telling me this story about this athlete saying that. And then the athlete says, if you want things to change in this country, if you want us to get back on the right track, we need to return to God as a nation. And I responded to him and I said, oh, well, he's really getting right to the center of the issue there in a spiritual war, So I agreed with that. This is all as I'm moving around and moving boxes, trying to fit cookies on the shelf and stuff. So it's kind of hectic environment. People are, where's the toilet paper? And so it's kind of a chaotic environment to talk about current events in the midst of all that. It's supposed to be a happy environment. You're supposed to be attracting customers, and being in the right mood to get them to return, hopefully, and not steal from you. But yeah, I said, yeah, that I totally agree with that. This is a spiritual war. This whole situation is basically God's remnant that still remains in this country, wherever they are, They're trying, and the Holy Spirit, obviously, and probably the angelic host that we get a little more information about in Daniel, how prayer is being intercepted by demons, and then the response to the prayer is on its way, but then it gets stopped by an entity known as the Prince of Persia, which is probably some demonic force, fallen angel, I don't know. And but this angel is coming back to Daniel to relay that information, and it takes a couple weeks or something. I don't remember the exact number, but that's an indicator there. And there's other verses that talk about the unseen realm, what's going, and there's all kinds of verses associated with angels right in front of them, right in front of characters in the Bible, but then they're invisible, they don't notice them, like the donkey, that stops and sees the angel with the lightsaber going, and the donkey's just like, oh. And then Balaam, was that his name, who's driving the donkey? He's kicking the donkey, come on, let's go! And then all the donkey sees is, no. And finally, the angel makes his appearance, and Balaam's just like, whoa! And he falls off the donkey. You know, that's an indicator that there is an unseen realm. There are things happening that you can't see with the eye of, I guess, the eye of flesh or the eye of this world. You have to look at it from a spiritual eye, spiritual sight. And you realize that that's all true. That's all happening. There's all kinds of things happening that maybe I take for granted or I don't even notice, you know. All the miracles that are happening just constantly. I go outside. I get up in the morning. That's a miracle, in my opinion. And then I walk outside and I see all of God's creation moving about, you know, like squirrels running around, birds chirping, you know. I see it. If you're a child of God, you see His miracle constantly. You recognize it. You acknowledge Him. You give Him the praise. What was I talking about? Yeah, spiritual war. So, we see that. But then other people hear that and say, what are you talking about? There's nothing going on. It's just a bunch of stupid birds and squirrels. What? You're nuts. I don't see any of that. What, an angel? What, an angel in the outfield's going to save me? You know, they scoff at you. But really, what he's saying is right. It is a spiritual war, and if we don't return to God, we are doomed. We might be at the Manasseh point also. We were talking not that long ago at the end of 2 Kings. We hear about Manasseh, and there are verses saying Israel is cut short, or maybe it was Judah that was cut short. God is cutting them short because Manasseh is such an evil king that God just says, nah, I'm tired of this. You guys are going into captivity. And I think we're close to that point. We might be at the point of no return in this country. And so I've responded to him in the past about, I said to him the other day also, you know, this stuff is out of our control. If we're past the point of no return, I think God says to us, I give you a liberty. You have the freedom to die by the sword, or to die by the famine, or to die by some other thing, you know? That's what your freedom, that's because you have not proclaimed Him to anybody. So now, I'm giving your freedom, I'm turning your freedom right around in your face. You take for granted all these blessings. Now I'm going to turn it around, and now you have the freedom to die, basically. You know, he says that. I think I did a video about that. It's about Alex encounters liberty or something, you know. And then I quote a verse from Jeremiah where he says that. I think we're there. But I responded to him in a silly way. You know, I do that sometimes. And I said, oh yeah, return to God, huh? Which God? You know, I don't like that either. I don't like the generalities associated with that. See, I know who the real God is, you know. He's the God in here. I know who created all of this, and I recognize Him, and I give Him the praise. But a lot of people, when you say that, return to God, then the Muslim might come up to you and say, oh yes, we believe in the same God. That's not true. The Muslims worship Actually, they worship the Antichrist. They worship Satan. They're just being manipulated. I think Muslims are actually, Islam is a creation of the Catholic Church. Somebody came up with that idea a long time ago, but I think it's true. I think it has to do with I think they call it the Hegelian dialect. Maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but the idea of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. I think the Catholic Church created an opponent, an antithesis, because they were losing people to Protestantism and all that, People were fed up with the corruption of the church. And so that's why you had all that. That's why everybody came to this country, because the Catholic Church was nuts. Inquisition, all that, But you create Islam, you create these crusades, you create an enemy. Now you have a justification to push all of your agenda and keep people locked away in fear. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. You create the excuse to get your agenda. You create an enemy. You create the problem. Even though you say you're the solution, you are the problem. I think that's what Islam is a representation of. And that's sad. They're just stooges for the Catholic Church. How evil. I don't have any evidence to back that up. That's just my working theory. I think it makes sense. You see that everywhere right now, with the excuses to remove our freedoms. 9/11, you look into the details associated with that. The excuse to go into war, and how we've destroyed the Middle East, and how we've created all these holes. Isn't that another crusade? See? Under the same principle. Scary stuff, isn't it? This is a spiritual war. People are being manipulated into Satan's agenda or God's agenda. I think the remnant that remains, God is holding back a flood because of that remnant that remains. Praise God. That won't put their knee to Baal, kneel before Baal, or kneel before Zod, or kneel before this crap today with these riots. As a remnant there, that's staying true to Jesus Christ. That's the specificity that I was trying to emphasize. You say we need to return to God as a nation. I think you need to be more specific. I think you need to say, return to Yeshua. Return to Jesus Christ. You accept Him into your heart. You believe on Him. You confess Him with your mouth and believe in your heart. You will be saved. And if everybody did that in one voice, He would return to us and save us. But like I said before, I think we're at the point of no return with Manasseh. I think he's beginning to cut us short. I think we're on a ticking time clock bomb. I encountered an older guy the other day who looked at me and said, "Oh yeah, this job's nice, right? You get to work in the air conditioning. It's a great first job, right? But you'll be moving on to another job, right? Because, yeah, you can't stay in this job." And I don't even respond to him. And I'm just like, I don't think there will be any jobs soon, sir. There is no future for me, sir, because you've burned it by your choices, your decisions, your rejection of God. You've caused that, your generation, and you not teaching a damn thing to your next generation. You've caused this. Now I'm responsible too. I'm a part of it. I haven't said enough. I haven't spoken out enough against this. But look at the responsibility, That's the whole thing. That's why God is rejecting us, because we've rejected him as a nation, and we could still return, but as long as there's no acknowledgement of the true enemy, there is a spiritual blindness over everybody's face. We don't identify the real enemy in our country, which is Satan and the spiritual war and demons and sin. If we don't acknowledge that, how do we combat something we don't even know is there? Scary. That's my thought and my response to my coworker. I'm not belittling him whatsoever. I love my coworker. I think he's a great guy. He has a great testimony. But I'd like him to think deeper, and I'd like him to be specific and say, Jesus Christ, Yeshua, return to him. Believe on him and accept him into your heart, and you will be saved. It's your only hope. If we're at the point of no return, that's your only hope. All right, I'm done. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.